Hello, Mike Test. Good afternoon, students, and welcome to our class for today. And before I proceed, let me share with you my screen. Are you confused of doing the review of related literature in your chapter 2? Well, this is a very good chance for you to understand or to review how are we going to do the review of related literature in our chapter 2. By the way, I'm your teacher and my name is Teresa Adangna and I'll be helping you and guiding you along the way. Review related literature, technically this means ethically selecting, citing, and synthesizing related literature. Meaning in this portion, we're going to understand and have skills in doing our chapter 2 with three or rather four ways of doing it. Number one is we will technically or ethically rather know how to select, cite, and synthesize chosen books and references na gusto nyong gawin. There are two types of definitions when we do our related literature. Number one is the conceptual definition and the operational definition. Of course, we already understand that when we say conceptual definition, it is based on the hypothetical criteria rather than the observable one. Usually, madidefine ito using dictionary and other general references. While operational definition in terms of review of related literature, this is based on observable behavior, measured and experimental. Meaning, this is how we use the different terms in our research. Okay, now let's proceed. There are different types of related literature. Okay, for example, the book that you get. First is a general reference book. Okay, these books are monograms, conference manual, research articles, professional journals, and similar documents. Okay, when we say primary sources, these are the academic research rather, and and university research journal and reputable organization. So next, secondary resources, these are articles, analysis, and essay, newspaper, single or multiple authored textbook. So, kapag po textbook, it means that it's a secondary sources. Samantalang, yung mga primary resources naman natin, these are the journal from reputable organizations such as UP. And then we have the general books. These are usually we could say that encyclopedia is also belong to a general references. Okay? And then tertiary resources. These are books based on secondary resources that interpret the work of others. So pag sinabi natin tertiary, for example, an editorial. Okay, an editorial in a certain article or a certain newspaper. Okay, ang tawag natin doon ay tertiary na. So, these are the type of literature that we use in doing our related literature. What are the characteristics of materials to be cited? This is very important for us to understand. The first thing is that we need to review or to check the recency, okay? Pag sinabi nating recency, this means that the book that we use is not obsolete yet, okay? So how are we going to know it? Of course, when we say general references, kagaya po ng sinabi ko kanina, this should be 10 years or less ago. Okay, so for example, today is 2021. So yung mga references on 2011 are good references and still we call valid or not an obsolete. Okay, another is the when we talk about primary and secondary and tertiary references, this should be 5 years below. Okay? Kaya may mga nagtatanong sa akin, "Ma'am, paano po yung mga ano, yung mga theory?" Okay? So theory, just find a good theory and then pagkatapos po, for example, yung multiple intelligences, let's say na nangyari to ng 1960. Okay? Just find another author na nag-quote ng multiple intelligences so you could include that as your reference. Okay? So that is for recency. Next is for the objectivity. These are the material should be fair, objective, and bias free. Okay, so as a researcher, we should be objective in doing our research. Hindi porke anti ka or you don't like the other theory, hindi mo na sila i-quote. But you need to present the materials objectively and bias free. And then next is the relevance. Bear in mind that it is essential that the information to clarify and deepen the issue and concept of the research being conducted. So do not just quote any reference or cite any references that that you just place it there para mapadami lang ano, but you have the motivation or your motive rather that you want to clarify and deepen the issue that you are presenting in your research. And last but not the least is the conciseness, meaning it should be sufficient enough, not too few and not too many. Yung iba kasi nagdaragdag lang ng mga references para pakapalin yung kanilang research. Well, that is not the main goal of citing and giving our review of related literature. Again, the main reason or the main characteristic of the materials is that first, it's recent, it is bias free, it has a relevance with our study, and it is concise. Okay, meaning the materials or the reference that we cite is enough to clear and to explain all that we want in our research. Okay, next is the organization of the review of related rather literature. Okay, so we have different presentation in doing our RRL. The first one is the chronological. Okay, when we say chronological, this is a timeline presentation of the development of our references. Okay, I have here an example of a timeline which is presented chronologically, or rather, I have here a reference, a type of reference or RRL, which is presented chronologically. You can see here that the the year is arranged in chronological order: 2017, 18, and 19. Okay, let me have my pointer. Ayan. So you can see here that I it is arranged chronologically. So kagaya po ng pinag-aralan po natin, as we understand, this is good for our intention when we have the intention to show changes about the topic occur from its emergence. So meaning you have the reason to show changes or development. Kagaya po ng sinabi natin kanina. Mostly this is used in a qualitative research. Okay? Next we have the basic or rather the by topic or by concept. Okay? Here in our presentation, it is used when there are many authors or rather writers that have a comparable opinion. So you want to present a comparable opinion of the author. So you use a topic or a concept arrangement of your RRL or your review of related literature. It is an organizing, organizing the review highlights and the interrelationship of concept. Okay? So when you want to show highlights and relationship of different concept, we need many authors, so you could cite by topic. Okay, an example here is this, as you can see, and then we have last but not the least is by author. Okay, so we use this type of presentation of our RRL to build credibility. Okay, to build credibility and to point to show the point of view of our author, a- and expound to back up the main idea. Okay? So that's it. This is another example. So for example, you have many author, you have three authors here. For example, Clemente, Holaton, and Orleans, 2016. Ayan po. Okay? So what are the ethical ways of citing literature? So this is very important for you to know what are the different ways in citing literature. Okay, first, the very important thing is the issue of plagiarism. So, as a researcher and future educator, we should understand that plagiarism is a crime. According to the Republic Act of 82, number 8293, which is the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. It says here that it protects and secures the exclusive rights of scientists, inventor, artists, and other gifted citizens to their intellectual property and creation, particularly when beneficial to other people. So we also very mindful of the copyright. This is also covered in the said article a while ago. It differs from plagiarism because it pertains to the breach of contract between the author and the publisher. So this is what we call the copyright. Okay? So another thing that you need to understand in writing your RRL is the APA style, or the American Psychological Association. When we say APA, this provides the author's surname and the year of publication in the citation with the complete details in bibliography of research. The page number is not included in a text citation. So today I'm going to show you some example of APA. For example, if you want the APA in text citation, and a work of two authors, this is an example. Okay, for example, Education 4.0 refers to, okay, and then you just write Santos and Portillo 2017. That's an example. And then if you have five authors, you could use Garcia, Santos, Hilario Cruz, and Aduan 2019, reiterated that. Ayan, another example. Okay, and then in the format of citation may include only the surname or the first author with the word, yung itinatawag nating it al. Okay, so you could see here an example. If you just cite the first author and then 2019, as well as in six author. Okay, government and private agency organizations, such as an author according to Department of Education 2020. Yan. We usually, for example, if we want to quote a certain organization, this is how we do it for the APA style. Okay? And then citing indirect sources in another source. For example, Portillo positioned that as cited in Santos. For example, si Portillo yung pinaka-main author or yung tinatawag natin na primary author. And then, ang secondary author natin, ayan, ay si Santos. So, we just say, Portillo positioned that as cited in Santos 2019, page 25. Okay? We also have electronic sources. Yan, mga nasa ano natin, mga nasa internet, like website. Ayan, this is how we do it. Sa citing website without an author, title, and date cited per sources, with no date, which is sabi natin yung no date is placed. For example, Smith, no date, argue that. Ayan. And then another, in a text citation per website with no author, Rizal province is now a COVID, and then Rizal province government 2020. So yung pinaka lugar rather than the author. Okay? And then reference entry for website with no author. Yan ang example natin. Okay, 'di ba minsan nakakakita tayo ng mga website, and then there is a certain position or certain things or words that we want to cite. This is how we do it. Okay, for example, Rizal Province Government period 2020 period retrieve from, ito na po yung site. Okay, and here another in text citation from section of website without an author. Ayan naman. For example, sa DepEd Calabarzon 2020. And letter D, reference entry for section of website with no author. Ayan po ang sample natin. Okay, and for our final tips. Tip number 1, okay? Prepare prepare references which have earned citation already. Ayan, for example, sa Google ano natin, sa Google Drive natin or sa search bar, makakita kayo ng cited by 100. Okay, for example, 751. Tapos yung ito naman cited by 1031. So, it will be good that you will choose the citation that have a lot of people who cited it already. So that is the tip number 1. Makikita mo 'yan sa baba ng particular subject na napili mo. Okay, next. Tip number 2, use shortened URL. Okay, sometimes when we copy and paste the URL, napakahaba nito. So we could use a certain application na nagpapaigse ng URL. So use a shortened URL. Ayan, ito po yung example. Then another example, for example, when we want to cite, meron naman ditong nakalagay na, for example, ito, kiklik mo yan. Pag kinlik mo yan, ito yung lalabas. And then copy the APA style or APA format of citing literature. Yan, copy, and then you can cite it. And then for our last tip for today, tip number 3, use the built-in citation in your Word doc. Okay, if you're using Microsoft Word, you will be amazed to know that there are pictures in your Microsoft Word that you could use in placing your citation. All you need to do is to click this one. For reference, click yung insert citation, and then you just choose of what type of citation you want. For example, APA, MLL, and so on. Okay, that's it. That is our topic for today, the review of related literatures. And here are the references where I get all my presentation today. And thank you for listening. If you have any question regarding this, you could simply use our group chat and then message me if you have any more questions. Thank you and God bless you all.